On Saturday, I posted a video about the ruling here in the UK by the Supreme Court, which says that under the 2010 Equality Act, women are women and trans women are legally men. To be honest, I feel sorry for most of the trans community because most of them are just trying to live their lives, and most trans people I've met have been thoroughly pleasant. However, their community is undermined by what I refer to as the TQ cult. These are the hardliners and their toxic fucking allies. The people who insist that men can get pregnant, that if a man dresses as a woman, he should be allowed access to female-only spaces, and that a woman identifying as a man can take to TikTok and openly call for the death of J.K. Rowling. So I posted that video and I thought, right, I've said my piece, I'm done with the topic. But then I went on TikTok, and my God, there's some material on there. This video is going to write itself. Now, because I'm talking about a change in the law here in the UK, or rather a clarity in the law, the 5 people we'll meet today are all British, and I will warn you, they get progressively weirder and weirder. So let's kick off with someone who wants to be the voice of a movement, and to do that, you need to give a clear, concise, passionate speech. Let's go.
Friends, trans, gays, allies, bis, lesbians, and non-binaries, aces, and the yet to disclose. And if you are not in one of the groups I have named, this does not concern you. So I suggest you wander along. Alright? But if you are in those groups, no doubt you also are disheartened by today's news across the UK. And I think you know what I'm talking about. But that does not mean we have to be silenced. And that does not mean we are invisible. And furthermore, that does not mean they have won. So long as we keep going.
Okay, I'm not sure what that was, but it needs to put its teeth in if it's going to speak. But the speech itself, which I should stress, I've cut that down. There's another 5 minutes of that. And I've seen all of it, and trust me, if I had to watch it again or slam my gentleman vegetables in the fridge door, I'd be heading for the kitchen. All it does, though, is lists sexualities and lifestyle choices, but doesn't include all 72 genders, so not very inclusive. And who is the they? Because with this lot, if you say them, you have to follow up immediately with them. But they haven't won. And yes, the TQ cult aren't invisible. So quite a slow start. Next up, a channel regular, a person calling themselves Joanna. Does he live in a working museum? Because it looks like he's trapped in 1973. That being said, for the rest of us in the UK, we're about to experience that year again. And for anyone watching overseas, in the UK, we've been warned to expect power cuts in 2025, plus rising taxes, rising unemployment, racial tension, and powerful unions dictating policy to a corrupt government, allegedly. That being said, though, Joanna, he's not really hurting anyone. He's doing that in the privacy of his own home. And yes, I'm guessing the clothes belong to his dead mother, and maybe she's wrapped up in a tarpaulin and she's being stored in the loft. But yes, he's doing it in the privacy of his own home. And there's no shrieking, wailing, or playing the victim. Coming up next.
Today, the Supreme Court of the UK has ruled in favour of 4 women Scotland, and this means that the legal definition of a woman is based within biology. You must biologically be a woman to enjoy the protections of a woman in the Equality Act. So this means a transgender woman with a gender recognition certificate, which is not an easy thing to get, is not going to be able to enjoy the same protections that a woman would in the Equality Act of 2010. The implications of this are worrying, really, really worrying, because this means that trans women aren't able to access the vital support services that are based only for women. We don't quite know the full implications of this, but it is absolutely vital the Labour government makes sure that this does not destroy 20 years of progress made by the trans community. And we're not 100%...
Okay, first up, mate, wash your fucking hair. Women are obsessed with their hair, and if you're trying to pass yourself off as one, then do some personal grooming. And make sure that's the only grooming that you're doing. Secondly, what rights have trans people actually lost? Other than men dressing as women, going into spaces where they shouldn't be, female-only spaces, or competing in women's sports where they have an unfair advantage. The implications are worrying. That's quite a vague statement. But why? What's worrying? Trans people are still protected by all the same laws as everyone else in the UK, not just UK law, but European law. Aside from biological men not being able to go into female-only spaces or compete in women's sports. Why would a biological man want access to a female-only service? Because, mate, if you go to the gynaecologist and flop your cock and bollocks out, that's not helping anyone. But the most hilarious thing out of that clip for me is him thinking that the Labour government aren't going to fuck this up. Where has he been for the last 9 months? They're destroying everything, allegedly. In my opinion, Keir Starmer has the reverse Midas touch. Everything he touches turns to shit. 2 clips left. I should warn you, these people are very unusual. 150 years ago, you paid to watch them at a carnival.
Do not be mistaken when I say that the people that are coming after the trans community right now will come after you soon. We're all talking about it. The Supreme Court has decided that being a woman, or presumably being a man, although they didn't address it, comes down to your biological sex assigned at birth. And the thing that baffles me the most about it is these are not doctors. These are lawmakers. These are politicians. These are not doctors that know what they're talking about, that have been to medical school and understand the human body. These are lawmakers that do not understand the human body. Because if they did, they would understand the difference between sex and gender. They are starting off by saying, you are a woman if your anatomy is this. Then it will be, you are a woman if you can carry a successful pregnancy. And then we'll go even further backwards to the point where women weren't allowed to wear trousers or specific hats. And if you were found wearing too many items of clothes that weren't specifically designed for your sex, you were arrested. That's where we're headed.
Yes, I remember learning in history about the famous hat arrests of the early 1900s. What a load of utter crap. And as a man with male pattern baldness, I find it genuinely baffling that a woman would choose to do that to herself. That being said, her bald head is the most normal thing about her. As for the people coming for the trans community, I think she means no one. I've said this many times before, the alleged trans genocide is the only genocide in history where all the people being murdered are alive and well to tell us about it. All that's happened is some loopholes have been closed to stop men taking rights away from women, but of course that doesn't fit with the false victimhood narrative. And sex is not assigned at birth, it's assigned at conception. When a man fires his love trumpet into a lady's shame cave, sperm meets egg, jobs are good. And yes, the Supreme Court isn't made up of medically trained doctors, because it doesn't bloody need to be. So that woman, she's done that to herself. Are we meant to take anything she says seriously? Because on the expert doctors thing, I'm not a vet, but I can tell the difference between a dog and a horse. Then it's the old argument about, oh, are real women the only ones who can carry a successful pregnancy? Because then the TQ cult turn the argument, well, what about infertile women? Aren't they real women? No. We all know that most females between puberty and menopause can get pregnant. Some cannot because of injury or disability or illness or whatever. That doesn't stop them being real women. But the TQ cult always play that card, and then we're back to hats again. Now, as a bald man, I have many, many hats to keep the sun out of my eyes and the rain off my head. I've never looked at them in terms of gender. It's a piece of fucking clothing. If I wear a different hat, it doesn't then make me a woman. One clip left to go. This one proves here in the UK, we really can turn out some nut jobs.
You've probably heard about this Supreme Court's ruling on the definition of the word woman. This will have some real serious implications. It will have some consequences. But I want to tell you one thing. They can make their laws. They can specify their definitions. They can take away my rights. But there's one thing that they'll never be able to take from me. And that's who I am. I'm a trans woman and I'm proud. And they'll never be able to take that from me.
There's some nightmare fuel for everyone. Now, not only could he weigh his head in at the scrapyard, but that manic stare. To me, he comes across as an extremely camp Terminator. Have we got to the point, though, where cosplaying as the opposite gender isn't enough? Now, you have to try to not even look like a fucking human. And his use of the words, some really serious implications and some consequences. Like what, mate? You're just throwing out vague, non-committal statements. It doesn't prove anything. And I think it says more about how tolerant the British are as a society that we let stuff like that walk among us. For fuck's sake. What a time to be alive. Anyway, that's the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, please do like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you could leave a like or a comment, that really helps the algorithm. If you'd like to support me making these videos, there's a link in the description to buy me a coffee, and my Patreon will be up and running by May the 1st. And as ever, thanks for watching. Last Saturday, I posted a video about the ruling of the Supreme Court here in the UK with 7 fucking seconds. Okay, whatever that thing was needs to put its teeth in before it... irony. A quad bike has just come past me. Doubtless that'll be the Emeritus Professor of History from Cambridge University. Or just some fucking idiot on a quad. He's fell off. So that's Joanna. One of the least convincing female impersonators I've ever seen. I guess that what it... Oh, fuck it. I guess that is what it would be like if you ordered a ladyboy from Temu. Sir, if you're trying to pass yourself off as a woman, please wash your hair. Why do so many of the TQ cult look so unkempt, so rough? Like they've been sleeping on the street or... Actually, no, that's an insult to homeless people. The homeless look better looked after than the TQ cult. Looks like an extremely camp Terminator. Ooh, I'll be back. And of course the Terminator couldn't be reasoned with. Like the TQ cult. Oh, he's back on his fucking quad. This is after the bloopers. I'm going to end on a serious note because Mrs. Disgruntled is a Catholic, and we woke up this morning to the very sad news that His Holiness Pope Francis has passed away. I think he was a pope that did more than any other for the rights of LGBTQIA+ people, and also helped to bring the Catholic Church into the 21st century. So Papa Francesco, rest in peace.